You will not believe where you're about to work. You are about to get a job in. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. Before you keep scrolling, stop for just a moment because what you're about to hear may feel strangely personal. Maybe you've been praying for an opportunity that hasn't arrived yet. Maybe you've sent applications, attended interviews, refreshed your inbox countless times, and wondered if anyone even noticed your effort. Maybe you're tired of hearing people say, "Your time is coming," while your circumstances seem to stay exactly the same. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. There are seasons when it feels like every door is locked, but what you cannot see is that one unexpected door is quietly being prepared for you behind the scenes. This isn't the story of luck. It's the story of a turning point that begins long before anyone realizes their life is about to change. Picture an ordinary evening. The sky is slowly growing darker, and you are sitting alone after another long day. Your phone is beside you. Your email remains silent. The applications you've sent seem to have disappeared into the unknown. You begin asking yourself difficult questions. Am I good enough? Did I make the wrong choices? What if nothing changes? Those questions are familiar to anyone who has ever waited for an opportunity that refused to arrive on their timeline. Yet what makes this moment extraordinary is not the uncertainty. It's what is happening beyond your awareness. Somewhere, decisions are already being made. Conversations are already taking place. Your name has not yet been spoken aloud, but circumstances are quietly moving into place. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. Imagine a hiring manager sitting in an office late in the evening. Most of the building has already emptied. Files are spread across a desk. Applications are stacked in neat piles. The manager rubs their eyes after reviewing dozens of resumes that all seem to blend together. Qualifications look similar. Experience appears nearly identical. Yet something feels missing. They aren't only searching for someone with technical ability. They're hoping to find someone who brings integrity, reliability, kindness, and a willingness to grow. They don't realize it yet, but the qualities they are searching for have already been quietly developing inside someone who almost gave up believing an opportunity like this could exist. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. While that search continues somewhere else, your own journey has been preparing you in ways you may not fully appreciate yet. Every disappointment taught you resilience. Every rejection strengthened your patience. Every delayed answer forced you to develop character that success alone could never create. Looking back, you may wish certain doors had opened sooner. Yet if they had, you might never have become the person capable of walking confidently through the one that truly belongs to you. This message is for you. There was a season when you believed rejection meant failure. Now you are beginning to understand something entirely different. Not every closed door is punishment. Sometimes a closed door protects you from settling for a path too small for your future. Sometimes opportunities disappear because they were never designed to become permanent chapters of your story. Growth often happens while nothing appears to be happening at all. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The next morning begins like every other morning. You wake up, follow your routine, and prepare for another day. Yet something inside you feels different. You can't explain why. Perhaps it's a quiet hope returning after weeks of discouragement. Perhaps it's simply exhaustion from carrying uncertainty for so long. Whatever it is, your perspective begins changing. Instead of asking, "Why hasn't my opportunity arrived?" you begin asking, "Who am I becoming while I wait?" That question quietly transforms everything. Listen to this. Because your heart needs this right now. Somewhere across the city, another meeting begins. Leaders gather around a table discussing a new position that has unexpectedly become available. They review qualifications, talk about experience, and debate what kind of person they truly need. One voice says something simple: skills can be taught. Character is much harder to teach. Those words shift the entire conversation. Suddenly the search is no longer focused only on impressive achievements. It becomes focused on finding someone trustworthy, adaptable, and willing to learn. Without realizing it, the discussion begins moving toward exactly the qualities your own journey has been quietly shaping. This message is for you. Think about everything you've overcome. There were mornings when discouragement tried to convince you that your effort didn't matter. There were evenings when silence from employers felt heavier than any rejection letter. Yet despite those difficult moments, you continued growing. You continued learning. You continued becoming someone capable of handling greater responsibility. That persistence matters more than you know. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. As the day continues, you receive an unexpected message. It isn't the final answer you've been waiting for. It seems small. Perhaps a request for additional information, perhaps an invitation to another conversation, perhaps simply a reminder that your application remains under consideration. To anyone else, it appears insignificant. Yet to you, it becomes the first visible sign that movement has begun. Sometimes life changes through one dramatic announcement. More often, it changes through small moments that quietly build toward something much larger. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Maybe you've also been noticing little reminders that encourage your spirit. Perhaps you glance at the clock and notice 11:11 just as hope begins returning. Maybe 222 appears during moments when patience feels difficult. Perhaps 444 catches your attention whenever you need reassurance that your strength has not gone unnoticed. Whether you personally see these as spiritual encouragement or simply meaningful coincidences, allow them to remind you that growth is rarely wasted. Every season has prepared you for something the previous season could not. This message is for you. Continue refining your skills. Continue protecting your integrity. Continue believing that your value is not determined by how quickly opportunities appear. The right environment recognizes qualities that hurried decisions often overlook. Your kindness, resilience, willingness to learn, and ability to remain faithful during difficult seasons are becoming part of the foundation for the next chapter of your life. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. As evening falls once again, the hiring manager reviews applications one final time before leaving the office. Almost absent-mindedly, they pause at one particular resume. Something about it feels different. It isn't necessarily the longest list of achievements or the most impressive collection of titles. Instead, they notice consistency, dedication, growth, and quiet perseverance. They place that application in a separate folder without fully realizing why. Sometimes the most important decision of your future begins with one small action taken by someone you've never met. Before going home, the manager quietly says, "I'd like to speak with this person." Those words seem ordinary. Yet somewhere, without your knowledge, your future has already taken its first visible step toward you. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The place where you're about to work may not be the place you've imagined all along. It may surprise you. It may challenge you. It may become the environment where hidden talents finally have room to grow. But before any door fully opens, your heart must first understand this truth: the waiting season was never empty. It was preparing you for responsibilities, relationships, and opportunities you couldn't yet see. And in the next chapter, you'll discover what happens when an unexpected phone call interrupts an ordinary day, and why the words spoken during that conversation leave you wondering if your entire future is about to change forever. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. The phone call doesn't arrive with dramatic music or a life-changing announcement in the very first sentence. In fact, when your phone begins to ring, it looks like any other unknown number. For a brief moment, you almost let it go to voicemail. You've answered so many calls before that led nowhere. You've heard promises that never became opportunities. You've experienced interviews that ended with silence instead of answers. Part of you expects this call to be exactly the same. Yet something quietly tells you to answer. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Some of the biggest turning points in life begin with the smallest decisions, and sometimes answering one unexpected call becomes the first step toward an entirely new chapter. You answer with a calm voice, trying not to expect too much. The person on the other end introduces themselves professionally. They mention an application you submitted weeks ago, one you had almost forgotten about. For a moment, you search your memory, trying to remember exactly which opportunity they're referring to. You had applied to so many places that the details had begun blending together. They explain that your application stood out, not because it was perfect, but because it reflected consistency, growth, and a willingness to keep learning. As you listen, you feel something unfamiliar replacing the disappointment you've carried for so long. It isn't excitement yet. It's possibility. After weeks, perhaps months, of believing your efforts had disappeared into silence, someone is finally telling you they noticed. This message is for you. Perhaps you've experienced seasons where your hard work seemed invisible. You continued showing up even when nobody applauded your effort. You improved your skills even when opportunities remained scarce. You questioned whether anyone would ever recognize the commitment you quietly carried every day. Listen to this. Because your heart needs this right now. Character is often developed in places where recognition is absent. The habits you built during discouraging seasons become the very qualities that prepare you for meaningful opportunities later. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The conversation continues. They invite you to meet with the team later that week. They explain that they are looking for someone who brings more than technical knowledge. They want someone dependable. Someone who communicates honestly. Someone willing to grow alongside the organization rather than simply collecting another paycheck. As they describe the role, you begin realizing something unexpected. This opportunity sounds surprisingly aligned with the kind of environment you've quietly hoped to find. It isn't merely about earning a living. It's about becoming part of something where your work actually matters. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. After ending the call, you remain sitting in silence for several minutes. The room around you hasn't changed. The furniture remains exactly where it was. The responsibilities waiting for you today haven't disappeared. Yet everything feels different because hope has returned. Not blind optimism. Not unrealistic expectation. Simply the quiet realization that one conversation can change the direction of an ordinary day. You smile, not because you already know the outcome, but because uncertainty no longer feels empty. It now carries possibility. This message is for you. Think about every rejection you've experienced along the way. Each unanswered email. Each interview that ended without another call. Each opportunity that slipped away despite your best effort. At the time, those moments felt like evidence that nothing was working. Looking back now, you begin seeing them differently. Every closed door redirected you. Every disappointment refined your patience. Every delay strengthened qualities that success alone could never have taught. Those seasons were not wasted. They became part of your preparation. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. Over the next few days, you begin preparing for the interview with renewed focus. You review your experience, practice answering questions, and spend time reflecting on what truly matters to you. Yet something inside has shifted. Previously, your preparation came from fear of failure. Now it comes from gratitude for the opportunity itself. Instead of trying desperately to become whoever you think they want, you decide to present yourself honestly. You no longer want to impress people by pretending to be perfect. You want them to see someone eager to learn, committed to integrity, and ready to contribute with humility. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Somewhere inside the company, the hiring team is preparing as well. They have interviewed many candidates already. Some arrived with impressive resumes but little authenticity. Others possessed confidence but lacked curiosity. During one discussion, someone quietly says, "The right person isn't always the loudest person in the room." Those words remain in everyone's mind. Without realizing it, they are describing qualities your own journey has quietly developed over time. Patience. Reliability. Consistency. A willingness to grow instead of pretending to know everything. This message is for you. Maybe you've noticed small moments lately that encourage you to keep moving forward. Perhaps you glance at the clock and notice 11:11 just as you're beginning to believe in yourself again. Maybe 2:22 reminds you to remain patient during uncertain seasons. Perhaps 4:44 appears when you need reassurance that your perseverance has not gone unnoticed. Whether you personally interpret these moments spiritually or simply as meaningful reminders, allow them to strengthen your hope while keeping your feet firmly grounded in the effort you're continuing to make. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. The evening before your interview arrives. You lay out your clothes carefully, review your notes one final time, and then close the notebook. Suddenly you realize something remarkable. For the first time in a long while, fear no longer dominates your thoughts. Of course you're nervous. That's natural. But beneath the nervousness is a quiet confidence built through everything you've survived. You understand that this interview does not determine your worth. It is simply an opportunity to share the person you've become through every challenge you've overcome. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Before going to sleep, you whisper a simple prayer. Help me walk through tomorrow with honesty, wisdom, and peace. Whatever happens, let me leave knowing I stayed true to myself. Those words calm your heart in a way endless preparation never could. You drift to sleep carrying hope instead of pressure. As morning approaches, the opportunity you've been waiting for is no longer just an idea. It has become a real appointment waiting on tomorrow's calendar. You still don't know exactly where this journey will lead. You don't know every detail about the workplace or every challenge the future will bring. But you do know this: the waiting season has already transformed you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared than the person who first submitted that application. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Continue believing that the qualities developed in hidden seasons are never wasted. Continue showing up with integrity, humility, and determination. Because while you are preparing for what feels like an ordinary interview, conversations are already taking place behind closed doors. Decisions are already moving. Favor is quietly unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. And in the next chapter, you'll discover why the interview itself becomes unlike anything you expected, and why one unexpected question changes not only the conversation, but the direction of your future forever. Don't scroll, listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. The morning you've been waiting for finally arrives. The alarm sounds earlier than usual, but you've already been awake for several minutes. Sleep came in short moments because your mind kept imagining different possibilities. You wondered how the interview would go. You rehearsed answers to questions that might never be asked. You imagined walking into the building with confidence, then imagined every possible mistake that could happen along the way. Yet as you sit quietly before beginning your day, something unexpected happens. Instead of fear growing louder, peace slowly takes its place. It doesn't remove every nervous feeling, but it reminds you that you've already survived challenges much greater than an interview. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't receiving an opportunity. It's becoming the kind of person who can walk into that opportunity without allowing fear to control your heart. As you get ready, every small detail seems more meaningful than usual. You choose your clothes carefully, not because you're trying to become someone else, but because you want your appearance to reflect the respect you have for the opportunity in front of you. You check your documents one final time. You take a deep breath before leaving the house. The world outside looks exactly as it always has. Cars move through familiar streets. People hurry toward their own destinations. The sun rises like any other morning. Yet for you, this ordinary day carries extraordinary potential because you know your future could quietly begin changing before sunset. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. During the journey, your thoughts begin drifting back over everything you've experienced during the past few years. You remember the applications that were never answered. You remember interviews that seemed promising until silence followed. You remember wondering whether your dreams had quietly slipped away while everyone else's lives appeared to move forward. At the time, every disappointment felt permanent. Looking back now, however, you notice something different. Every rejection pushed you toward becoming more resilient. Every delay forced you to improve your skills. Every setback strengthened your patience. You suddenly realized that if the first opportunity had worked out, you might never have become the person capable of handling the opportunity waiting for you today. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. When you finally arrive outside the building, you pause for just a moment before walking inside. It isn't the largest building you've ever seen. It isn't covered with dramatic signs announcing success. Yet something about it feels strangely familiar, almost as though you've imagined standing here long before today. You remind yourself that your goal isn't simply to impress people. Your goal is to remain honest, calm, and genuine. You silently whisper, "Let me be myself." Those simple words remove a pressure you've carried into too many situations before. This message is for you. There is incredible freedom in realizing you no longer have to pretend. For so long, you may have believed every opportunity depended on becoming exactly what everyone else expected. But lasting success rarely belongs to people who spend their lives performing. It belongs to people who continue learning while remaining authentic. Your experiences, your perseverance, and your willingness to keep growing have shaped a version of you that no one else can imitate. Don't scroll. Because your heart needs this right now. The receptionist welcomes you warmly and asks you to take a seat while the interview panel prepares. As you wait, you notice several other candidates sitting quietly nearby. Some appear extremely confident. Others seem just as nervous as you feel. For a brief moment, comparison begins creeping into your thoughts. You wonder whether their qualifications are stronger. You wonder whether they possess experience you don't have. Then your mind returns to something you've learned during your waiting season. Comparison steals peace but never improves preparation. You smile softly and choose gratitude instead of competition. Your journey is different, and that's perfectly okay. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. After several minutes, someone opens the door and calls your name. The moment has arrived. You walk into the room expecting formal introductions and predictable questions. Instead, the atmosphere surprises you. The interviewers greet you kindly. Their smiles immediately reduce some of the tension you've been carrying. They invite you to sit down, offer you water, and begin with a simple question that catches you completely off guard. Instead of asking about qualifications first, one interviewer asks, "Tell us about a challenge that completely changed the way you see life." For a second, the room becomes perfectly still. You hadn't prepared for that question. There isn't a rehearsed answer waiting in your mind. You have a choice. You can give a polished response that sounds impressive, or you can speak honestly. Remembering everything you've learned during this journey, you choose honesty. This message is for you. You begin sharing your story. You talk about seasons when opportunities disappeared. You describe how disappointment taught you resilience. You explain that rejection forced you to grow in ways success never could. Instead of pretending every setback was easy, you admit that some days were incredibly difficult. But you also explain that those experiences taught you patience, gratitude, humility, and perseverance. As you speak, something changes inside the room. The interview no longer feels like a test. It begins feeling like a genuine conversation. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. One interviewer quietly nods while another writes notes without looking away from you. They aren't simply listening to your words. They're paying attention to your character. They notice how you accept responsibility instead of blaming others. They recognize your willingness to keep learning. They see someone who doesn't claim to know everything yet demonstrates the desire to keep improving. Those qualities cannot be easily measured on a resume, yet they often become the very reason someone receives an opportunity. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. The interview continues with questions about teamwork, communication, problem-solving, and leadership. You answer thoughtfully, drawing from real experiences rather than trying to invent perfect stories. Whenever you don't know something, you admit it honestly while explaining how you would approach learning it. Instead of seeing honesty as weakness, the interviewers recognize it as maturity. Quietly, without your knowledge, they begin imagining what it would be like to work alongside someone who values integrity more than appearances. This message is for you. Never underestimate the power of authenticity. Skills can often be developed with training. Character is built through choices made over many years. Every season of perseverance you've lived through has shaped qualities that no certificate alone can provide. Continue becoming someone whose actions consistently match your values, because opportunities rooted in trust often last far longer than opportunities built only on impressive credentials. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. As the interview draws toward its conclusion, one of the panel members leans forward and smiles before asking a final question. If we gave you this opportunity today, what would success look like to you 1 year from now? You pause thoughtfully before answering. You don't begin by talking about promotions, titles, or salary. Instead, you say, success would mean earning the trust of the people I work with, continuing to learn every day, contributing more than I'm expected to, and leaving this place better than I found it. The room falls unusually quiet. For a brief moment, nobody speaks. Then one interviewer smiles and quietly says, "That's a different answer than we've been hearing all week." You leave the building without knowing what decision will be made. Yet something inside you already feels victorious. Not because you know you've received the job, but because you finally showed up as the person you've become instead of pretending to be someone you weren't. The waiting season had done exactly what it was meant to do. It prepared you for this moment. As you begin walking away from the building, your phone remains silent. No announcement arrives. No immediate answer appears. But behind those office doors, after you leave, the interview panel begins a conversation about you that you never expected. One sentence spoken by the hiring manager changes everything. "I think we just met the person we've been searching for." And in the next chapter, you'll discover what happens inside that meeting after you've already gone home, and why the decision they make about your future leaves even them surprised. Don't scroll. Listen to this because your heart needs this right now. This message is for you. As you walk away from the building, you keep replaying every moment of the interview in your mind. You remember each question, every answer, every smile from the interview panel, and every pause where you wondered if you had said enough. The farther you walk, the louder your doubts begin to speak. Maybe I should have explained that answer differently. Perhaps I wasn't experienced enough. What if someone else impressed them more? These thoughts are familiar to anyone who has ever cared deeply about an opportunity. Yet while your mind is busy questioning everything, something remarkable is already happening behind the closed doors you just left. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Sometimes the answer you've been praying for begins unfolding while you're still convincing yourself you weren't enough. Inside the interview room, the panel remains seated even after you've gone. Normally, they move quickly to the next candidate, reviewing notes with professional efficiency. This time is different. For several moments, no one speaks. Finally, one interviewer quietly breaks the silence. There was something genuine about that conversation. Another nods in agreement. They aren't talking about the most impressive qualification on your resume. They aren't discussing perfect interview techniques or memorized responses. They are talking about authenticity. They are talking about someone who answered difficult questions without pretending to have a perfect life. They are talking about someone whose character spoke louder than rehearsed words ever could. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. One member of the panel opens your application again. They begin reading through every detail more carefully than before. Experiences that once seemed ordinary now take on deeper meaning because they are viewed through the lens of the person they just met. Your willingness to remain consistent over the years suddenly becomes more valuable than a long list of impressive titles. They recognize determination where others might have seen delay. They recognize growth where others might have noticed only gaps. Quietly, without realizing it, they begin seeing your journey as evidence of resilience rather than weakness. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Outside the building, life continues normally. Cars move through the streets. People hurry to appointments. Restaurants begin filling with customers enjoying lunch. Nobody passing by has any idea that inside one office, conversations are taking place that may completely change your future. That's often how life works. The biggest moments rarely announce themselves with dramatic signs. They begin quietly while everything around them appears perfectly ordinary. This message is for you. Think about the waiting seasons you've already survived. There were mornings when hope felt difficult. There were nights when unanswered questions kept you awake. You wondered whether your effort mattered because visible results seemed so far away. Yet every challenge quietly shaped the person who walked into that interview room. Without those difficult seasons, your answers would have sounded different. Without those disappointments, your humility might never have developed. Every obstacle became part of your preparation. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. Back inside the meeting room, the hiring manager asks a simple question: if we hired this person today, what concerns would we have? The room grows thoughtful. One interviewer smiles and quietly says, "They don't know everything yet." Another immediately replies, "That's true, but they're eager to learn, and I'd rather teach someone with humility than manage someone who believes they already know everything. Heads begin nodding around the table. The conversation shifts from searching for reasons to reject your application toward discussing how quickly you might grow within the organization. Without realizing it, the discussion has already begun moving in your favor. Listen to this. Because your heart needs this right now. Meanwhile, you arrive home carrying mixed emotions. Friends ask how the interview went. You answer honestly, I think it went well, but it's impossible to know. Then the waiting begins again. Waiting has become familiar territory. You know how difficult it feels to refresh your email every few minutes. You know what it's like to jump every time your phone vibrates. Yet this waiting feels different because something inside you has changed. For the first time, you aren't measuring your worth by whether you receive an offer. You're grateful that you finally represented yourself honestly. This message is for you. There is incredible peace in knowing you've done your best. Results matter, but they never define your value. The confidence you've developed isn't based on certainty about tomorrow. It's built upon the knowledge that you've continued growing regardless of yesterday's disappointments. That kind of confidence remains steady even during uncertain seasons because it is rooted in character rather than circumstances. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. Later that afternoon, another meeting begins inside the company. Senior leaders review the finalists. Resumes are compared. Strengths and weaknesses are discussed carefully. Several candidates possess outstanding technical abilities. Others have years of impressive experience. Yet every time your name appears, the conversation returns to one consistent observation. This person brings something difficult to teach. Curiosity. Integrity. Reliability. Coachability. They realize technical skills can improve with training, but character must already exist before someone joins the team. Those qualities quietly become the deciding factor. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. As evening approaches, you decide to stop checking your phone every few minutes. Instead, you go for a walk. The fresh air clears your thoughts. You begin reflecting on how much you've changed since first beginning your job search. At the start, every rejection felt personal. Every unanswered application seemed to question your value. Now you understand something completely different. Closed doors redirected you toward becoming stronger. Delays taught you patience. Disappointment refined your priorities. Even before receiving a new position, you've already become a different person. This message is for you. Never believe that growth only happens after success arrives. Some of life's greatest transformations occur while nobody else notices. They happen during the quiet moments when you choose persistence over giving up, gratitude over bitterness, and hope over discouragement. Those invisible victories eventually become visible in the opportunities that follow. Don't scroll, because your heart needs this right now. As night falls, the hiring manager remains in the office longer than usual. One final decision still needs to be made before the day ends. They open the folder containing your application once more. They remember your final answer about wanting to earn trust, continue learning, and leave the workplace better than you found it. That response continues echoing in their thoughts. Finally, they pick up the phone and say to a colleague, "Let's move forward with this candidate. I believe they'll become one of our strongest team members." Those words are spoken miles away from where you are. You don't hear them. You don't know they have already been said. Yet in that exact moment, your future quietly begins changing. Listen to this, because your heart needs this right now. Sometimes the breakthrough you've prayed for begins before you receive the news. Decisions are made before emails are sent. Doors open before you ever see them. While you spend the evening wondering whether you were enough, someone else has already recognized the qualities you've spent years developing through patience, perseverance, and quiet faithfulness. As you prepare for bed, your phone remains silent. No official offer has arrived yet. From your perspective, nothing has changed. But beyond your awareness, paperwork has already begun. Approval is already moving through the system. Conversations are already taking place about your first day, your responsibilities, and the future they believe you can build with the company. The opportunity you hoped for is no longer just a possibility, it is becoming a reality. You close your eyes, unaware that tomorrow morning will begin with a notification you've dreamed about for longer than you can remember. One email. One phone call. One message. That's all it will take to separate your old season from the new one waiting just beyond sunrise. And when that moment finally arrives, you'll understand that every delay, every rejection, every unanswered application, and every difficult lesson was quietly leading you to the place where you were meant to begin all along.